Okay, so we're going to attempt to recreate this hairstyle over here as xgen. Get as close as we can. So I'm going to send everything uh, into Maya so I can start working on it. I'm going to use gn export. I'm going to send it as multiple files and only send visible. So let's do that and hope for the best. Now here we should be able to receive our files. So let's switch to obj and see what we get. I think we want to get multiple files here. Okay, and there we go. Let's get rid of this. Another thing I want to do is send this head on the second subdivision level. But first, I'm going to call this guy hair cap. And then should be able to send this safely. So I'll just use selected and bring it in. That's gonna be my head. Cool. So let's take a look at hair cap. So I'll start by setting my symmetry and basically trying to come up with the area where the hair cap will begin. So I'm thinking something like this. Maybe even, whoops, let's take it further. Make him look a bit like Elvis. And then, whoops, roll around the ear. All the way. Why not? Let's do this. We'll get something like this. We can detach component now. Select, invert, erase. And there's our hair cap ready to go, right? So from this, I'm also going to shrink selection and then just inflate it slightly so we can always see it crashing through. This guy, I'm gonna soften the edge for him, and I'm gonna take my hair teeth, what is this? Mouth sock. Just gonna drop it on a layer. And it's gonna be my, what are we gonna call it? Let's call it geo head layer, give it a color. Make it untouchable. Let's get our hair blobs, put them on another layer. This one's gonna be hair blob. It's gonna be blue, and it's gonna be, for now, we'll keep it touchable, but we can hide it. Let's make this guy softer, and actually, let's do something like this. Next, I want to create some sort of a plane, most probably. Yeah, let's do a plane. And then move that plane into the intersection point over here. And kind of isolate it. Maybe see if this works for us. Something like this. We can place him right here. Make sure that the translate X is not affected. I think we're doing alright. Just shrink it a bit. I think this will be okay. So basically what I'm thinking here is, how do I make this work? How many systems would I need for this to work? Now, this is going to be system number 1. This could be system number 2, even though these two can be combined. It is possible, and most probably better to actually leave them combined. These here would be great as separate systems as well as this one over here. Now, in order to make all of that happen, we would need to either shape it by hand, or we would need to get in here and create some curves along this geo. Now, here it would be somewhat convenient to create the curves on the surface of the geo. Now, how do we want to do this? There's a couple ways. Way number one would be to make this geo live, which is like the safest way I would say to do this. And I can go now into my CV curve and start plotting along my geometry. I'm getting a decent looking curve, right? And every time I hit G, I'm starting a new curve. And you see Maya in all of its grace and greatness. Deciding for me, maybe Alex, you would want to place this curve elsewhere. I don't think you know exactly what you're doing. That's what it's telling me right now. Let me place it for you. So that's option number one. Then option number two would be to use a custom script, or use, for example, zbrush curve functions as well. So for custom scripts, if we soften the edges here, kill history, should have something here like curve on mesh to create, as the name suggests, a curve on mesh. So here I can come in with my stylus and start creating curves on top of this mesh. Now this workflow, considering that our hairstyle is in view, would go faster. So here I go, creating my curves. You see that we get actually superior sampling quality in this kind of approach. And we can start deciding. You see, that's why it's a good idea to start from a hair blob and try and figure out, okay, how am I going to split my hair into clumps? Of course, within reason. You wouldn't necessarily want to do everything, but at least to figure out, okay, volumetrically, how is this going to look? So we're starting the process. As you can see, I've created a whole bunch of curves here, and I'm kind of looking at the distance. I'm like, okay, that's more or less reasonable distance. But we also have to remember that our distance is determined from the roots of our curves. So it's a decent idea to make sure that the distance is working from the root and not necessarily like how close they are together. So now I can get in here, like if I'm not entirely pleased with, now there's a bit of a discrepancy because I was doing a bit of a manual moving. So I can go in here, use the smooth algorithm, hopefully that will do the trick for me. I'm not looking to be precisely one-to-one here, but that's what I get. Now, you see another problem right out of the gate is basically what we're getting here is a bed to pay. So we have the hairs coming out of here, but on a real head, they would be growing all along the length of his head, or at least where the growth pattern would be possible. So what do we have to do? My solution to that, and you see I'm just showing and hiding the topology on selected. I'm gonna also activate my hotkey preview here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go and start introducing a secondary line of hairs. Now here I'll go a little bit more lazy, but nonetheless, I will go and add more hairs. Some of them will have some issue because you see here we're going over different volumes at the same time, so some editing would be necessary, I'm pretty sure. Some of them will converge. And you'll notice right away what I'm doing here, we might have a problem because we're not growing from the head, we're growing from the top of the surface. So for that, we will need to use a script, or we will need to snap these manually. So obviously I would prefer to use some sort of automated way of doing it. And here I go, continuing my population of the hairs, getting further and further into this volume. Now here I kind of want to take it all the way to the tip. Boom. And each one of these curves is going to be eventually a clump. There we go. Here I'll take it further as well. And then, why not? Let's do something like this. So we end up with multiple layers of curves. Let's take a look. There we go. So we will do exactly the same process on the opposite side now. And it's okay if I'm a little bit wonky here. We're going to smooth them when we're done. I want to make sure that I'm growing them at a semi-equal distance. I'm trying to follow the design. And you see I'm being a bit lazy. I'm not taking it all the way through. The reason is I'm going to be creating a secondary and third layer here, so I can allow myself to make that lazy approach here. So moving along, slowly rotating and painting these hairs in. Here I might want to go this way. Here I might want to go this way. And this way. Nice. And this way. Keep on going. Keep on plowing along. And as I continue, here, I can tend to the tips that I haven't tended to yet. Or maybe take some of these hairs further. Here, I might want to take them all the way to the tip. I think this will do for now. So at this point, we have this kind of situation. Looks a little bit shaky. It's not very pretty, but that's okay. Now, for something like this, there's a couple approaches. We might be able to get away with inserting something like a, how about a cube? If I take a cube here, and I orient it in the same orientation as the hair, scale it up, move it, and start a tentative process of poly modeling. Something like this. And then here, I can pinch my onion inwards. This I can squish a bit and squish outwards a bit. Now I can insert an edge loop here, move it down. So by now you might start to get an idea of what I'm doing here. I'm going to smooth it and start getting something that starts looking a little bit like what we want to get. Now here, I'll scale it down, move it back. So I'm crashing through. And at this point, I want to select it. Perhaps do the same on this side as well. Maybe even erase them and then smooth it again. So at this point, I could activate symmetry and start grabbing, or maybe even inflating. So bulge would be inflate, and start puffing it out until I start breaking through the surface. There we go. Puffing it out, grabbing and moving around. Oops. And make sure that I'm crashing through in the places that I want. There we go. Now at this point, I can smooth it and keep on working on it until I get something satisfactory. Just about to crash through. And I can start smoothing in the areas where I suspect I'm getting close. Cool. There we go. So at this point, my translate X is zeroed out. There's a bit of asymmetry on the sculpt, and I think that's fine. So why did I do this? Well, basically, what I want to get out of this situation is I don't want to necessarily paint these edge loops. So how about I extract all of these edge loops as curves? Now, we might have an issue doing that one by one. We definitely can, right? If I go to modify, convert polygon edge to curve, you see, well, at least you'd expect it to do that. There we go. So if I keep doing that, there we go, or no. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have my symmetry on. I think that's the issue here. So let's see what I created. This is number 1, this is number 2. So if I continue going along, you see I can keep on doing that. And I'm starting to get these curves to appear and give me what I need. Alternatively, I could use a tool, a script. Let's see. Because if I was to try and select multiple edges, you see it only converts one. So in order to do that, I'd have to split my selection into edge loops and go from there. So if I don't want to do that, I can, what is this? Oh, there we go. I can import a different tool. Let's see. Oh yeah, I need to install PyMel. And we're back. So I had to install PyMel, which is definitely an issue in newer Maya versions. It used to be automatically installed with Maya, but now it seems to require manual installing, which it just did. It's not very difficult, and for those who need that, I can include a link to how to do that. In any case, if I am to use my, let's see, if I am to use, let's see, need an extra command here. Okay, there we go. This is what I need. And boom. So if I wanted to convert multiple edge loops into curves, I can use it via script. So I can do this, and then, you know, it makes extrusions, but also I have all of these beautiful, beautiful curves that now I can grab, export, and then also just remove everything that the tool creates. So now we have all of these curves on the exterior. Now I feel like it would be a great idea to duplicate this into the interior and edit mesh, transform, move it in, and have a secondary level, right? You see how it crashes through itself? So that's not cool. We don't want that. So what we could do is try and relax it a little bit. And yet again, I can get in here, convert to edge loops, and then use the tool to extract these to kind of fill the interior. So we're not just using with the surface level, dealing with the surface level, but are actually dealing with the interior as well. So there we go. Kill history, Shift P, and then we can erase all of these folders, all of these nodes that were necessary for the extrusion operation. And there we go. So at this point, we have this. If we need to, you know, adjust something, we can always also paint some curves by hand. For now, I'm not going to bother with it. So we have some sort of basic curve situation. I think these are day. And then if I need to adjust all of them together, I have to go into multiple component mode and then lasso select. And here I might have to shrink them a bit, eh? I didn't do a very good job at adjusting them precisely. So here I go, adjusting them precisely. I can get in here, maybe like adjust these a little bit. Whatever we need to do to match it a little bit better. And then also we might want to kind of drop them a little bit deeper into the mesh. because when we create our hair, it's going to be volumetric. So we want to think about that. And I suppose I could have thought about it as well when creating the shapes, but hey, learn from my mistakes. In any case, this hair will be growing out of also out of this hair cap over here. Next, similar process for these. I'm going to be creating curves, and for this to happen, we could use a couple approaches. So what I'm thinking here is we're going to take a new approach. I'm going to create a single curve on top of this. I'm going to isolate it, make it live, and then create my curve tool and just clickety-click on top of it. You see, we don't see the curve because it is currently not isolated. And there we go. There's our curve. Now, what I want to do is to move this curve further, deeper into this volume. So that's what I'm going to try and do here. And there we go. And there we go. Okay, there's my curve. Now I'm going to extrude along my curve, so I'll just use this tool to do that. We can also use sweep mesh to do exactly the same thing. There's my mesh. Now I can adjust certain features about it. For example, I could pinch it at the very tip. So why not? Let's do that. So if I go here into the extrude node, into the scale, I can pinch the tip, and also maybe increase the scale of the curve altogether, or sort of the geo altogether. Now at this point, I'm gonna delete history, take it out of this folder structure. Also, I'm going to preserve my curve and then get rid of all of these nodes. So now at this point, what I want to do is subdivide it. I used the ZBrush hotkey by mistake, and then I'm gonna, sorry, not average, but I'm gonna actually merge my vertices with a very low threshold. So now I have no seam line on this, and then I'm going to use my sculpting brush and adjust it to match the volume of this outer mesh. So with a bit of bulge, with a lower intensity, we can now start bulging it out and trying to get that volume to correlate to whatever we're doing, right? So there we go, and we can actually use, we can actually use our sculpting brush, get in there, create some volume, smooth it out, do what we need to do to get what we need to get. And you can see I'm also creating a bit of a irregular looking mesh here, so we definitely need to come in and be a little bit more careful. So yeah, now once we get that part done, you know, we can kind of adjust it, do what we need to do in that regard. Some adjustments would be easier to do with traditional poly modeling skills. So I can move it in and then scale it out. Move it in. Something like that. Scale it up. And there we go. So there's our mesh. Now here we can create as well some sort of a edge loop extraction. I'm gonna move this in a little bit. Whoops. I think this will do. So same thing applies. I can just select all of these edge loops. Maybe even kind of move this and snap it a little bit better to the head. So that way, not sure what happened here. I think it just didn't snap that well. There we go. So that way, later on when we grow our hairs, they grow out of a single place. So there we go. And then, you know, we can definitely get in here. Just average these out a little bit. So it's a nicer looking blob. And now that I've done that, let's go ahead and extract these curves. Just want to make sure that I'm not selecting anything weird here. I might be selecting something weird here. Let's see. These guys didn't close as well. There we go. I think that's why I got this kind of strange behavior. Let's get rid of these. And go, go, go. And away we go. So my curves live right here. Kill history, get them out of the folder structure, get rid of everything else. And there's my curves. Now I can kill my piece of geo or hide it. I can get rid of my base here, and I can adjust my curves, you know, to whichever way I want. There we go, ish. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Another thing we could have done with our extracted geo before we fattened it up, when we still had the curve, and we can still kind of do something similar here, but basically when you extrude a long curve, so let's hide this. Let's hide the hair blob. Is this cube base situation? I can get rid of the base. I don't know if I still have the interior. It looks like I accidentally maybe erased it. Could be, eh? Yeah, I might have erased it. So, in order to get in between, kind of get a center line, what we can do, because they all have the same poly count, I can duplicate one of these and then create a blend shape between the two. Now, if I get the blend shape to 50%, so let's do that. Deform, blend shape. If I get the blend shape to 50%, now I'm getting it to go more or less in the center of everything else. Now, if I was to extrude along that edge loop and scale it down, I might have to invert my curve here. There we go. And actually, before I extrude, let's get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Reverse. And then if I do this, and we scale it down. We can also rotate it. So what's cool about that? Well, we get a more interesting result. How about something like this? And now, if I kill history, merge verts, select the origin, snap it, inflate, or bulge. There we go. Now I have some twist. Now I can select these and extract my curves. There they are, out and about. And then if I go into my extracted curves, I think the first one, maybe not. No, I think I got all of them out of there. So I can get rid of that. And there we go. So if I bring back my references here, I might want to also create, let's make this guy live. Or not live, but whoops. I might have just crashed everything. Alright, so it looks like we were saved. Let's close this so I don't accidentally click on it anymore. Looks like we were saved. And yeah, that's very cool. Alright, so I'm gonna make these guys live. And I'm going to maybe hide this so I can really get in here. And go in and create. Actually, I'm not even gonna make them live. I'll try and paint by using Curve on Mesh plugin, or script rather, and get in here and try and paint some of these extra shapes following these. Let's see if I can do maybe something like this. Cool, maybe I'll do another one just to kind of come from this side. And then here, why not? I could actually maybe even start from here. Let's go into this guy. I really can't see because I'm using a screen stylus, so my hand is in my own way. So there you go, you buy the more expensive equipment and then you end up suffering. Let's go to this point and maybe let's go over here. Alright, this will do. Now, out of laziness, I will just duplicate all of these to the opposite side. So next, what do? Well, next we isolate them, and then I will go into curves, and then I'll set some settings for myself. So I'm gonna have about 44 points per each of these. They're going to be cubic, even though they don't have to. And then I'm going to get in here and smooth them. So you see we're losing some volume by smoothing them. So actually, I'll try and get them to be a little bit more dense. And then if I smooth, you see we don't lose as much volume. So I still might get in here and move them in and just kind of keep some of that curvature. Keep some of that curvature closer to what it was initially. So there we go. These are going to be my kind of side ones, side hustles. And, you know, I could adjust them a bit more, which most probably I will. No, I won't. Now, I'm gonna group that That's gonna be my, what is it? R bang curves. Actually, I'm gonna keep my curves at the beginning of the sentence. Okay, and then I'm gonna duplicate it to the opposite side. So edit, let's do duplicate special, single copy, -1 on the X, everything else is zeroed out. Boom. There we go. It's like a Jewish kind of character. Okay, let's finish this up with this situation here. Again, I feel like the easiest thing to do right now would be most probably to create maybe two curves on this surface. So I might just make it live and start clickety-clicking and create a CV curve. I'm gonna go relatively loose here because what I want to do is find the center of this guy. So this is relatively easy to do. There we go. This will be curve number 1. Let's do curve number 2 on the opposite end of this. So G, and away we go. I'm just making sure that I'm on the opposite side. And that way, we can relatively easily, and again, relatively is the key word here, create the middle curve that would go inside this mesh. Boom. So we have two curves. Let's rebuild them. Curves, rebuild. Let's actually rebuild them with more points. Let's do 88. Boom. And also let's smooth them. Boom. And also now we'll duplicate one, select 1, 2, deform blend shape, and now we have an in-between. 0.5 is where we want to be. And we can create now a volume around it. So I could even use a sweep mesh. So let's do that. Sweep around this guy. Let's hide our initial beautiful hair. And now what's nice about using the sweep mesh is I can now play with the profile. So I can taper it. Now might want to taper it from the opposite end. So let's see if I can reverse it. And then if I go to my sweep mesh, let's see if taper now, yeah, it's a little bit more robust than my script. And then my taper curve, let's do that. Bring it over, pinch the beginning, pinch the end, move the pinch. We can scale up the profile, adjust it. Perhaps it needs to be smaller here. Smaller, larger, larger, larger. Something like this, I suppose. Way smaller here. And in theory, we definitely could use these curves as a way to create a new geo. That's also an option. But this should be doable as well. This actually using where is it? Under generate using paint effects. There's actually a function where you can do that. Let's get the profile a bit larger. Again, we want to get in here. There we go. And just as we keep on rotating around it, hopefully we're getting the kind of look that we're going for. Boom. Boom. And now that we have it, we can start twisting it, eh? Let's do that. So, which way do I want to twist it? I don't know. I want to check with my guides. So it seems like I'm twisting it correctly. Awesome. Awesome. I might increase the precision a tiny bit more. Boom. Okay. And whatever we need to do, we can do it by adjusting this curve over here. So I feel like this will do for now. So this will do. Cool. Now, we can extract all of these beautiful edge loops. So now what we can do is we can duplicate, go back to our sweep, reduce the profile, right? Duplicate, back to our sweep, reduce the profile, reduce the sides. And there we go. We can now either keep it, so duplicate and then hide our original sweep. And now we have these three that we can use to extract the curves out of. So yet again, selecting an edge loop, convert into edge ring, and then we can use this script to make it happen. Boom. Same thing. Let's hide the first one, second one. Boom. And then last one. Boom. So at this point, I don't care about extracted geo. All I care about is extracted curves. Kill history. Shift P, Control G. It's gonna be our ponytail. Curves. Whoops. Pony. Cool. Gonna get rid of all of these nodes that were created alongside the way, including extracted curves. And there we go. There we go. And we have a nice twist that goes kind of along. And at this point, we can bring back our guide, adjust our curves. you know, depends on the speed we're trying to go. Oh, I have to close that window. Uh, and then we can make it live again and paint some new curves on top of our surface. So, or instead of making it live, bring back our painting tool and start creating some new curves to go into all of these places. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Boom. No, I need a different angle here. Maybe let's do it like this. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll stop saying boom. As you can see, I continue to, whoops, to take them. Oh, sorry, I think these ones I already have done. Maybe this one I haven't done yet. We have some more here, it seems. Looks like this guy far away doesn't have one. Let's try and bring it on. There we go. Now, in order to create these, there's a couple things I can do. I can basically create the transitions right at the very tip here. That's an option. And then what I can do is take some of these curves that I get into this area, cut them, and attach them to these. So here I could actually take advantage of the fact that there's a bit of a discrepancy. And then if I hide the reference, I can select all the curves that are going till the end. And then select the one that is closest here. Maybe this one. Can isolate those. I can select here, erase. And then curves. There should be like an attach or something. There we go. And then we can erase the original ones. And we can do the same action to the rest of them. Right, boom. Oh, there we go, and boom again. Curves, attach, kill history, delete originals. So, if the prep seems annoying, keep in mind that this is much less annoying than other things that could have happened. For example, creating this kind of ponytail by hand. We're getting there. Which one is gonna be the lucky one? This one? Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah. I just want to make sure I don't erase one that's already going to one of my other end bits. And at the end of it, we'll have to make sure that all of them are... Oh, awesome. This is great. And I'm gonna rebuild them. Let's do 88 and smooth. Just to smooth them out. Cool. So this is going to be my... Oh, I don't even need to do it. I'm gonna select them and parent them under my curves pony, and then delete everything else. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Now these guys, let's grab those. That's going to be my comb over. Let's group that. Curves. Comb over. Yeah. Again, same treatment. 88. Smooth. I can do a couple here. Some of them more than others. Right, 88 is quite a lot for these short guys, but I don't want to destroy their shape. There we go. Cool. We're starting to get something here. Things are starting to take shape. Now this here, we're gonna call the onion. Hopefully this is enough, most probably not, but we'll see. Let's do rebuild, smooth. Boom, done. And group, curves, onion. And we can select this guy. So all of our, don't need base. Can hide that. Actually, let's unhide all of that stuff. The head is the head, I'm assuming. Yeah, awesome. And we can group this. This is going to be our... this is going to be our geo to curves. I guess we're gonna keep it, why not? There's all of our curves. And we still have some work to do here. So around the curves onion, we can go to component mode, move them around, making sure that we're not crashing, you know. These are our guides, so we really want to make sure that everything's working out great. Selecting the onion, selecting the curves, selecting the points. Wonderful. We can play around with this until we establish the perfect hairdo. And if we have to redo something, if we have to introduce more curves, this is the time. You see here, between the interior and the exterior, we have quite a lot of discrepancy. So here on my onion, on the interior actually, I'm kind of going deep into enemy lines here. So we want to figure out, okay, can I snap them in a different way? You see, this is not working out that great. So if I go to my component mode, let's just select these curves. This is the outer portion of the onion. And see if we can get them to snap a little bit better. Then here, let's see if I can snap these guys a little bit better. Isolate the onion again and keep on working. Keep on working until we're rooting in a good place. This is still incredibly easy to adjust. I know it might look like it's not, but everything is relative. Whoops. Holding the B and making sure that we're not crashing with the ear. Here we might want to come out, move it out, move this out, and so on. Now, once we select these and we've made our absolute best to ensure minimal crashing, we can then, and I'm not going to do it now, but we can then, actually, especially what I want to concentrate on here is these interior curves before I move on to anything else. And we can group them separately, just inside of this group, we can group them separately. We can also curves in the beginning. There's a reason why I'm doing this, why I'm giving these names. And then here, I might want to adjust these as well. I could always use a deformer, like a lattice. 5, 5, 5. So I get a relatively equal looking rectangle. And now I can start adjusting where they crash, where they connect. From a side view, it's going to be a bit easier. And there we go. Then I can select kill history, select every second curve, or every third, or every fourth, and then apply a new lattice. Lattice 5, 5, and then move these guys half the way down. So what does this give me? It gives me more coverage. Awesome. Next, what I can do, I select my entire onion here, kill history, isolate my onion with my head here, and now, if I go to component mode, I can erase whatever is inside. So let's try and select whatever is inside, and I want to select using a lasso. Cancel our soft selection. And then maybe here on the sides, I don't want to necessarily select these. I don't want to necessarily select these. But I definitely want to select what's on the inside here. Maybe even I'll try and avoid these outer ones. So I can always go here and deselect my outer ones, the ones that I'm actually going through a lot of trouble to try and make sure that they're not crashing through. For now, I'll deselect even these guys. And then on the interior here, again, I'll go to component mode and try and select whatever's crashing through. And deselect whatever isn't. Something like this. Gonna delete these. And you see, I'm actually getting to a decent place here. There are still some. I could adjust them. These two can go behind the ear. There's a whole bunch here. We can go to components and erase these. That's awesome. What else do we have? We have this guy over here. Let's move him. Like that. And then erase everything further down the line. And there we go. Looks like an old wizard now, at least in this view. Some of these are crashing through, clearly. But they're not crashing through terribly. And we want to avoid terrible crash situation. So there we go. We have our curves. Now here, I would want to come in and introduce some in-betweens. So in order to do that, I'll bring back my hair, go to the appropriate folder if one exists. Most probably I would want to create a folder for my hair. Let's do that. It's gonna be my hair blob. You see now, because I made a mistake, I have a problem. If I hit enter, you see it creates hair blob 1 because this exists. Now this needs to be hair blob layer. Now this can be just a hair blob. Inside, I'll remove all of these and introduce the folder itself. So whatever I put underneath that folder now goes into this visibility layer. Cool. Now, if I hide it, I can see that I have some gaps. So I'll continue to paint my curves until I cover the distance or the volume to a more satisfactory degree. And I can take some liberties perhaps. This is the time to start thinking about each one of these is going to be a clump. So we can start to think about how is it going to behave. There we go. And it's nice because our new curves are newly created and isolated. They're on the bottom here. Super cool. I might want to adjust it a little bit. Boom. So these we can also rebuild. 88 and smooth. And then drop them into our comb over folder. So now we're doing a little bit better. I think I'm going to conclude the first part here. There's more adjustment to be done, so make sure that we're mostly slightly under the surface rather than over the surface. Just slightly. Or sitting directly on the surface will do as well. Keep in mind that we can adjust our curves if we want to adjust them on the entirety of their volume. We can always put everything else on layers, including the hair cap. It needs to have its own layer, so that's going to be our cap layer, for example, out of laziness. And then the moment everything is set to reference, even if it's visible, we can now go into global soft selection, and you can see now everything will adjust. All the curves will adjust. We can switch. But in case we need it, it's always there. I prefer this kind of approach, but hey, sometimes I use the global.